All right. Good morning, everyone. 38 minutes after 9 on this 3rd of July. Not as popular as the 4th. Hope you guys are doing well. I'm Wave Meteorologist Brian Good. Welcome to a special edition here of Storm Talk for the Alert Day update. We have Alert Day out for today for multiple issues. Nothing too extreme except for one I think that we need to pay attention to, and I'll kind of break all these down, get you through the holiday weekend. Yes, we will talk about Hurricane Beryl, and then we'll get into the longer range, what impacts we could see as we head into, say, the 10th of July. Just as popular once we get into next week. So a lot to pay attention to, a lot of moving and shaking. Out of everything I'm going to tell you, though, coming up, I want you guys just to take away from this, just have a way to be notified. We say this over and over, but it's really true. I mean, you just can go on with your activities and plan accordingly, stay close to forecast changes, of course. But if you're going to be out and about, as long as you're having a way to be notified for any alerts, whether it's heavy rain and certainly for lightning, that is key. You just have to have that way for us to reach you. That way you can get to your safe spot. And hopefully it's just a temporary interruption and nothing long lasting. But in some of these cases of thunderstorms, they could last for a while in one particular spot. And that's what's going to lead to some problems. Okay, so let me try to break down. Oh, by the way, as you guys know, you can comment on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube. I will see you guys there. Already several comments there. Hey, Jeremy, how are you doing? Is there any risk for, all right, Gamer, for a tornado risk today? No, there isn't. There is some low level shear. I don't want to get too technical. That can sometimes cause some a brief rotation, but this is overall a straight line wind event because the wind fields are fairly weak in the area, but that leads to a whole other ordeal. All right. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, so let's get right into the live view right now. This is at Huber's Orchard and Winery. A bit windy out. You may have noticed that. A little bit of a breeze, but boy, you probably have noticed the humidity that has been building kind of hits you already when you walk out. So here's what we're going to do. For the alert day for today, which we're really going through tonight, we're going to go with that. One part of that is obviously going to be the heat and the heat index. There's an asterisk there with that. Right now, we're thinking about 105, maybe a bit higher in some locations. That is the first time we've been to that level so far this year. So that's why that just stands out more. We've had hot days. We always get hot days in summer, but there are a few days that take a little more of a toll based on data we've always been gathering on research with heat illness that can develop. And it is up there. It's up there with flash flooding, above tornadoes, or heat illnesses and related deaths. So that's the reason why it's something we do hit a little harder. May not seem like it's a high impact event. But if you are not prepared for it, heat is one of those things that can sneak up on you and take over your body, and you may not be paying attention to the warning signs. So just take it easy is the main focus on that. Thunderstorms, though, some will be popping here soon. The strongest of them will be more than likely this evening. But more than likely, I think, while we got a damage and wind threat, I think it's the flash flooding we really have got to watch, as you're about to see here in a second. Some of you are really going to get walloped by some very heavy rainfall. All right, let's start with the heat. We'll break that down first. Here's the heat advisory that is out, kicks in officially at 1 o'clock all the way through 8 this evening. Most of Wave Country is in that zone of the heat advisory. Some of you are not quite there, but even if your county is not shaded here, you're going to be about 1 or 2 degrees off from everyone else. So it's very, very close. Right now, we're thinking about 106 or so as you get into about 3 or 4 o'clock hour. I don't know why it's not displaying at 4. You will have a heat index of 4, but it should be very close to that. But again, a hot setup and then staying very warm as we get into the evening. Even with the overcast sky tonight, it'll be so humid out. We'll be in the 80s, but the heat index could still feel like 90, even with pouring rain outside. So that's how humid and how tropical this atmosphere is that you don't see a lot of relief even in the rain on trying to make it feel better outside, unfortunately. So this is a very, very core of the tropical summer kind of stuff here. All right, 83 now. We haven't dropped much at all. I don't think we even dropped below 80 in Louisville this morning. 77 as you get into Columbia. Dew points in the 70s already. That juicy air has arrived, leading to that uncomfortable feeling. Low to mid 70s is up there, and this will go up later on today. All right, now here's what could be a little bit of a catalyst on the heat, and that is thunderstorms back in Missouri have thrown clouds, debris clouds at us from outflows during the overnight. So at the moment, it looks like a very hazy, overcast setup, which it is. It's fair. Now, it is thinning out back in Indiana again towards Salem and Paoli. So we'll get back to that little more of a sunnier setup here into even Louisville this afternoon. And then we'll see what happens with the next round of shower storms that move in later. The amount of cloud cover, though, that will be key on just how hot we get. Some areas may be influenced a little more by clouds. Clouds make a difference, obviously. So if there's some areas that see more clouds than others, you may not get to that level I just showed you on the heat index or even the actual temperatures. You may fall short of that. All right. Some of you probably will, to be honest. But I think we need to be ready for that potential to get up to that level just in case and plan accordingly. All right. Now, as far as thunderstorms go, the first outflow came through this morning. That's why it's a little breezy out. It's now draped across central Kentucky. This may be a focal point for the first few thunderstorms to begin to pop this afternoon. And then we may have another focal point into Indiana that will likely develop showers and storms. So we may end up with two different areas we'll have to watch. And we don't have to wait long. I think we'll start to get some activity on the radar here very, very soon. But it will take until later into the late afternoon, evening to allow them to grow to the point where they could actually produce a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings. That is possible. So while you could still get a downpour or thunderstorm at any point here this afternoon, the potential that we're worried about for a couple of warnings will be later on. Okay, so that's certainly the game plan through the lunch hour into the mid-afternoon is the heat and the messy setup there with the high clouds moving on by. Now, I mentioned Missouri back there to the west. You see the bands of heavy rain. In fact, continues around St. Louis. They have really been whopped. I mean, some of the estimates are coming in at about 5 to 6 inches of rain already near the St. Louis metro from the heavy rain that has taken place. So that gives us a good idea that these thunderstorms can really pack a punch. We mentioned yesterday how rainfall potential per hour is roughly about 2.5 inches of rain per hour. That is going to really cause some problems in areas that get stuck in one of these rain bands that forms. You may see one storm in your area and it may try to leave your county and weekend, but then suddenly you look over to the west and then another one develops and moves right toward you. So, and it's that repeated round that we need to watch out for because that's really going to skyrocket total. So that's why the Weather Prediction Center has a slight risk of flash flooding all the way from Missouri into the core of wave country because of this setup that is primed for that development. And as I mentioned before, even in a drought scenario that's been trying to develop, you can still get flash flooding. In fact, your flash flooding risk is higher in those type of setups because the ground is like concrete and the water has nowhere to go. It's more of an issue in urban settings and on interstates and hydroplaning, but I do think it can back travel. Severe thunderstorms. This is a new update. They just came in a few moments ago from the Storm Prediction Center. They have trimmed back the slight for some of our Kentucky counties. They're keeping it mainly along the river and north. And that's fair. I think overall, when you look at the, well, I thought I loaded in, the wind shear that's over the area, it is right across Indiana, and it's very, very, very weak, but it is roughly along the river. Oops, sorry about that. Hold on. Right along the river and in Ohio, that's where your wind shear is, basically right there. And it's only about 25 knots, not very much at all. Just enough with that combined with a hot setup today to allow for damaging winds to be possible. Okay, so without the heat, the wind shear alone like this today would not be enough for severe weather. So the heat and the shear combination working together as a team and the moisture to allow for that severe risk. But there's not as much of a wind field into Kentucky. So you can still get storms into Kentucky, but you actually will not have them move very much at all. So there's really more of a problem if storms form in Kentucky versus Indiana, because at least you have some kind of wind in Indiana to try to move them along. In Kentucky, there's even less of a push to move any thunderstorm along. So while your severe risk will be a bit lower in Kentucky, your flash flooding potential will actually be higher just because the idea they're going to be slower moving. Okay, so that's the layout. Let me walk you through this hour by hour. This is just one model's idea, and I can tell you right now, not all the models agree. Shocker. So I don't want you to get in the weeds on the models. I'll kind of show this and explain where we're at on this whole idea and our thinking. All right. So as I mentioned, some of those downpours now moving out of Illinois will try to form in Indiana, central Kentucky. We should start to get some downpours here very, very soon in central Kentucky as well for the afternoon. Again, severe threats low initially. Later into the evening, we need to watch for a few warnings. Now, this run really likes focusing along the river and central Kentucky, which that's different than even 24 hours ago. The focal point was more in Indiana 24 hours ago. There has been a notable shift in this boundary to try to move it more in Kentucky than Indiana. So it's interesting that, we'll see what happens with the wind fields. If the slight risk can be extended more south, if we get that wind field to get a little more over the river. Otherwise, they're not all lined up. They're kind of displaced a bit. But you see the radar is lining up showers and storms. Look at Missouri. Yikes. More heavy rain in Missouri heading through that area. But central Kentucky getting walloped tonight. We're going to get past sunset. That's when flash flooding will become even more dangerous because you can't see what the road is like ahead of you, especially if it's underwater and you don't know the road very well. Some of you are traveling to get to your holiday destinations for a vacation, whatever it is. So you may not know the road very well. And in heavy rain, you're driving in, the wipers are going crazy. Kids are screaming, dogs barking. You get the idea. Don't risk it. Just turn around and find a route that you do know that is safe and is well lit. Okay. So please be careful out there. You're going to be camping. This is an area in central Kentucky that you do not want to have very heavy rainfall taking place, right? Whether it's Bend River State Park all the way at the Rough River. Be careful. Watch out for heavy rain and flash flooding. Keep an eye on the creeks and rivers near you. This will be active throughout the evening at times. Notice not everyone's getting rain, so let me do my cautionary tale that there was some of you skipped completely out of this, but some of you are going to get absolutely walloped. But once this wave kind of does its thing here this evening into the early overnight hours, look at Missouri. That is the next one. That should begin to arrive as we head into very early in the morning hours. Before we even get to sunrise, we should have another complex of storms rolling in. Same issue, maybe some gusty winds, very heavy rainfall. We get a small break. We do it again toward the late morning, midday hours, another round of showers and storms. Severe threat, if they're that close together, I'm not worried about it. There's going to be too much going on, too much cloud cover, too much rain. So your damage and wind potential is going down because they're getting closer together, but your flash flooding potential continues to skyrocket. So that is still the bigger issue as we get into the 4th of July afternoon. Now, if we stay active in the morning and early afternoon, the good news about that is it will taper down any storm threat for anyone trying to light fireworks for 4th of July night. That trend is showing up. Maybe enough of a break to give you that window. The ground's probably going to be soaking wet. It's probably going to be overcast, but it may be calmer on the radar. All right, so that could be a fair trade-off. We'll see. On Friday, more showers and storms. Now, the difference here is timing. The front itself, if it's slower than expected, then the showers and thunderstorms are going to be a little more active, a little closer to Louisville and points east on Friday. If the front's faster than expected, this is going to be an I-75, a Lexington, Corbin, London, Kentucky issue, and we will dry out rapidly here on Friday. So the speed on Friday is still being worked out. This model really wants to bring the front end here fast to allow for a really nice setup on Friday. So there's still some hope there that we're only having to deal with about 36 hours of some rough weather, and maybe then we'll get a nice little break. But what a 36-hour window it could be, especially in terms of flooding. This is now, you're looking at these numbers like, oh, Brian, come on. These are just model outputs on rain totals, but it closely relates to what the potential is and what our thinking is. 1 to 2 inches is likely to fall in our area. All right. Not all counties, but several counties are going to get 1 to 2 inches, but there will be some localized areas that are going to get over 3. And you get over 3, 4, even 5 inches, which is possible, even a bit higher. I can't rule that out. Now you're talking about problems that are going to develop. So just be ready to react to that if it happens. I don't want to blow this up too big because I don't think a lot of you that are watching are going to get to that level. Only a few of you. But if it's you, obviously you're going to be upset, right? You don't want that to happen to you. So just make sure you're ready for that heavy rainfall as it moves on by. All right. So let's get to the hurricane real quick. I'll get to some more questions, by the way, at the end. So be thinking about anything I missed, and I'll get to it. Here is... it's Beryl. My country accent comes through. I always say Beryl. But anyway, here's Beryl. Right now moving very close to Jamaica. Still Cat 4. 145 miles per hour. It's having a really tough time on trying to step down, which is not unusual on a Cat 5 powerhouse. I mean, those things are just, they're just very well organized. You can't really rip them apart as rapidly as you would think. The wind shear is trying to do that, but that eye wall still looks fairly decent. So it should stay at this level as it moves through Jamaica today, which is not good. This is nearly 2 decades that they've ever had, in some cases longer, they've had to face anything like this in Jamaica. So it is going to be rough. Some of the camera feeds we've been trying to get out of the area have already been going down, and the storm hasn't even arrived yet. So the Cayman Islands, see Georgetown, it moves into the Cayman Islands by tomorrow morning, and then hits the Yucatan. And this is where things get a little weird, whether or not it will make this turn towards, say, Brownsville, Texas, or it'll go more into Mexico. Yes and no. There is more of a support angle here, as you see on the model solutions, to go more west into Mexico. There's only a few ideas to try to turn it. I will say this, and Tawana and I were talking about this. There is another low pressure east of Burrell right now. It's officially 96-L, no name yet. If it were to get named, it would be Debbie. Soon to be Debbie. Is showing up in the modeling to be right in behind Burrell. So Burrell would move in toward Mexico, and then right in behind it, here comes Debbie that tries to move in a very sneaky way into the Gulf and then moves toward Kentucky. Now, let me be clear, in any scenario, whether it's Burrell or Debbie, we would just get heavy rain from that. We're not talking about a wind scenario, just rain. But it's interesting that it could be sneaky that everyone's focused on Burrell coming in and coming toward Texas and Mexico. Then all of a sudden, here comes Debbie out of nowhere and then heads right into the Gulf of Mexico and the Gulf states and causes maybe some problems with heavy rain and flooding. So, and that would be late next week if that were to happen. So a lot of questions on the extended outlook here for next week. Low confidence for sure. And to complicate that, we have a few fronts that are going to be dropping in across the Midwest as well next week, moving in from the Great Lakes and the Eastern United States. So that's going to be active. I don't think it's going to storm every single day next week, but I do think it's going to be a fairly tropical setup. And certainly if we were to get some kind of tropical remnants to feed around the big high we have to the east here, if they were to feed right into the Ohio Valley, then our rain total forecast, all that will go up. But these fronts are key too. I mean, when a cold front can come through at the right time, when something's moving into the Gulf, it can easily, ricochet it to the west, or in some cases make a very sharp turn to the northeast. So our fronts will be key as well. So again, there's not one model that's going to get this right, not right now anyway. So just be weather aware next week, and we'll keep you updated. All right, let me get you into the 10-day, and then let me get to some of your questions real quick here. Let's see. Chris, yeah, did someone mention Chris? Yes, Chris is gone. Chris already hit the list. Poor Chris was only on the list for 6 hours, if that, and then it moved into Mexico and was gone and didn't have time for anyone to talk about it. So that's why we would be on the letter D now for Debbie would be next. Let's see. Oh, I see. Angela was asking, where's Chris? Yeah. Chris was a very short-lived system. So do I need to water my garden? Mark, I've been thinking the same thing because I'm like, I got sunflowers trying to grow. Obviously, we got our annuals we're trying to take care of and keep them going. And I thought about it. So, you know what? I'm going to wait only because I got the water bill for last month. I'm like, okay, it's just getting a lot out of control. So I'm going to just, I think these downpours are going to be widespread enough. We're going to get rain out of this at some point in a 36-hour window. And the rain could be excessive. So I'm not going to water. I'm going to leave it alone for right now and see what happens because I do think it may take care of it on its own and we don't have to worry about it. Let's see. All right. No more power outages. I agree. We don't need more power outages. The weekend, by the way, still looks good. As you can see there, we got 86 Saturday, 90 on Sunday. So lower humidity. It will be dry this weekend. So I'm not worried about that. So the weekend and potentially Friday. Again, Friday could trend decent. We'll see. I hope that front can get here faster and we could luck out pretty good on that. Joel, I washed my car. That will really guarantee the rain. Joel, the same happens to me. And I know it seems like a weather person joke sometimes, but it's true. It always rains when I wash the car. So I haven't washed it. Maybe I should. Any idea when we get a break from the humidity that's trying to murder us? It will be lower this weekend, but let me be very, very clear. When I say lower, I mean just that, lower than what it is today, but not low. Not like Monday when it felt awesome outside. So it will feel better than what it does today, but you're still going to sweat on Saturday and Sunday. You'll still feel the humidity. I don't want you guys thinking, oh, man, I thought it was going to feel like, a dry heat today, I'm still sweating. You're going to sweat. And it's still going to be a hot, but it's a typical normal summer weekend for Saturday and Sunday there. Okay, I think everyone looks to be in good shape. Samson, you're welcome. I'm glad we're able to do these. I got to get ready for the midday show because new data is rolling in, so I don't have a whole lot of time to adjust things if I need to, but we're going to keep doing that today. And we're going to have to. This is a setup that is not locked in. There's no model that we could really use. We're beyond the modeling really set up now at this point in the day. It's really what we call nowcasting. So we're going to be tracking the cloud cover to see how we are with temperatures and heat index, and then we'll be tracking the rain bands to see where we could see some stronger storms, and secondly, where flash flooding and the higher rain potential will take place. So it's a multifaceted alert day type of setup that will have different impacts in different parts of the day for you guys. So we just wanted to bring you extra awareness. It's a holiday weekend about to begin here. So just take those extra precautions now and have fun. Be safe. Don't hold the sparklers and have a good time. All right. I appreciate you guys. As always, have a safe holiday weekend. Again, I'll see you guys coming up on midday and all the way through this afternoon. And then I'll be out until next week. So we'll see how things look at that point. All right. Take care, guys. Have a safe 4th of July, and I will see you on the flip side.